Hey everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with the Friday edition of Today in Sports Betting. Taking a look in the NBA today, Scott. Got a couple of TV games on, and we're going to take a look at those, plus share any thoughts we might have on any of the other games where there could be some good value. Not much of an exciting college card today, Scott. Before we get rolling, is there anything in college that gets you excited? I know you and I were talking and struggling a little bit for you to come up with a play of the day. Anything else that trips your trigger there in college?
Well, it's a matter of just looking at the card and not really seeing much that I enjoyed to a certain degree. Having said that, I'm interested in watching the Michigan Purdue game. I think that
Yeah.
game could have implications for later on down the season, especially after Michigan's last road game was a complete no-show against Minnesota. Purdue's been hot lately. I think that it's definitely a very interesting matchup. I understand why money's coming on Michigan. Wouldn't surprise if Michigan wins, but it also wouldn't surprise me if Purdue comes out and potentially pulls off an upset here. I feel like you agree
Why do you feel like that?
because Big Ten teams are atrocious on the road, and Purdue is pretty solid at home.
Yeah, I Purdue certainly has the big men there to take Michigan out of their game. I will be curious to see if which Michigan shows up. It was the Michigan that we saw last game, or it was the Michigan we saw for the first part of the season. So,
Mm.
yeah, could be interesting to see. As far as the NBA goes, our first TV game, Scott, it's Boston Philly doing a little rematch of their game on Wednesday night that the Philadelphia 76ers picked up the win there, 117 to 109. Covered the number. It did go over the total. So for this one, they've got the line made at Philadelphia -5 and 222.5 is the total. Who do you like here?
Well, I think it's very, very tough. And the reason why is because we just talked about it before we went on air. I know Philly ended up covering the first meeting. It won by 8. Having said that, do you feel good about backing a team that just won by 8 at -5.5, even though it attempted 25 more free throws than the other team?
Yes, I do feel good about that. I feel as good about that as I do picking up any other win. So yes, I feel fine.
I kind of meant for the rematch.
Oh, for the rematch,
I'm sure you did well personally. That wasn't what I meant.
um, you know the uh, I'm fine. Game flow changes. I don't know what you're implying. Are you implying
What
that
I'm implying
is
is that
it going to
even
be a
though
makeup? Is it going to be a makeup situation for the refs? Is that what you're saying?
I think what I'm trying to imply is the fact that Philly barely covered 5.5 in the first meeting, and yet it still had 25 plus free throw attempts in the first meeting. So if the free throws are anywhere closer to each other, Philly probably doesn't cover.
Yeah, I think that's a fallacy. I think
I'm just throwing it out there.
no, every games change from game to game. I don't think that anything. I'm not sure that means anything other than the fact for that particular game.
Well, Boston was doing pretty well before getting outscored by 14 in the fourth quarter. So Boston, barring a collapse, actually looked pretty good. I'm not sure if that once again will carry over. Of course, it has no impact, so it shouldn't carry over. But I think it's worth talking about.
Okay, well, yeah, without Tatum there,
It's tough for Boston to score, at least consistently without Tatum, because Tatum, of course, is a shot maker extraordinaire. Jaylen Brown's been pretty good, but when your new best player or your interim best player goes 10 for 24, 3 for 10 from 3, there's a reason why he's -13 on the floor. And you also have Marcus Smart taking 19 shots a game. Now, I know that he made 10 of 19. If Marcus Smart's taking 19 shots, you got yourself a problem. Because he shouldn't be taking more than pretty much 12 in any given game.
yeah,
I think you'd agree with that.
at most, yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a ton for him. I'm more interested in the trends of how these two in a row games have played out, and they've basically been, for the most part, a lot of uh, a
Chop it up.
yeah, chop it up basically. I was going to say, yeah, something along those lines. But yeah, that's um, the same team is rarely able to keep the momentum going for both games. Now in college, it's been a little different. You get one team to cover the spread, win big, good chance they're going to do it again. But the NBA has been a little bit different, and I don't know if it's a situation where they get more comfortable with each other or if the refs even things up. I don't know what for whatever reason that has been the case. And I'll take them again tonight. I'll switch it up and I'll take Boston just because of that reason.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to switch it up a little bit too. I'm going to lean to the under.
Okay.
I know that 222.5 for two teams that just combined for 226 sounds a little bit sketchy or a little bit risky. But once again, both teams combined for 65 free throw attempts in the first meeting, and the game still only went over this total by about 5.
What's an average game get for free throw attempts, Scott?
I got to assume somewhere in the 40s.
Okay.
I mean, 60s is just unheard of. You had Philly attempt 45 by themselves. So I think that the refs will cut back on those a little bit. Plus, we already talked about with Tatum and everybody like that. For the Celtics, you had Daniel Tice, of all people, go 10 for 11 from the floor for 20-something points. I don't see that happening again.
Right.
I don't think Smart's going to go 10 for 19 again. I think you just have some regression with some of these players. I don't think Embiid's going to go for 42 again. I think he'll probably go for 30-plus, but I don't think he's going to go for 40-something again.
Well, out of those three players, I think Embiid has the best chance to repeat.
That is definitely true. But I'm just throwing it out there that you definitely have some regression possibilities for several key players in the first one with the free throws overall. So I'll lean to the over. I'll lean to the under. I think you'll get a better defensive effort from both teams.
Okay. All right, good enough. Yeah, and this is a Boston team that's has played pretty good defense for most of the season. So yeah, that would not be a surprise for me at all. So, yeah, I'll lean Boston to beat the number, and I'll go with you on the under as well. I think you've laid out a solid case there. All right, Scott. Moving on to our second TV game of the evening. It's the Golden State. No, I'm kidding. It's not Golden State.
Should have been. Lost. It was on TV locally for me yesterday as the Warriors lost to the Knicks.
Oh, that's right. You get the Knicks and the Nets, don't you?
Yeah, you think I'm going to watch the Knicks.
Your life is full.
It's full of content. I was watching the Islander game last night.
You're watching the Islander game?
The Islander game ended right before that, but I had some articles I had to write, so I got through my sports watching the Islanders play.
All right, very good. Nuggets Suns tonight, Scott. Nuggets and the Suns, and the Nuggets. Basically, Nuggets are a 1-point dog, 218.5 is the number. So what are we to make of this Phoenix Suns team, Scott? I know you and I have backed them at various times.
Under. This team just plays unders. I mean, you want to talk about teams that have kind of been zagging when everyone's zigging. A lot of teams have embraced the offense with the three-point shot and just scoring as much as possible. And I feel like the only two teams that kind of went against that right now are the Suns and the Knicks, where they just barely score points, but they win games because their defense is really good. And the Suns...
That's the formula the Magic used last year, but it hasn't worked for them this year. But
yeah. Well, then again, Orlando also had some injuries involved. I think losing Fultz was huge because Fultz is actually pretty good for them. But Phoenix has played 13 games, 9 unders. It's pretty good to the under. I know Detroit's been an over team, but only an under here. It's mostly based on pace for me. Both of these teams rank in the bottom 5 in pace of play. I just think you'll see a ton of half-court sets. I don't see much just transition between these two teams. The Suns with Chris Paul have completely reinvented themselves and started playing a lot slower. And Denver with Jokic kind of has to play slower because Jokic isn't exactly built to go up and down the court in this transition style. Of course, he can throw full-length passes to do that, but up and down, they try to slow it down a little bit more. So pace is pretty slow on both sides. Phoenix plays very good defense. Denver's actually coming in off of one of its best defensive games of the season, giving up just 101 points to Oklahoma City. I think this game turns into a dogfight. I think Phoenix will win, but I think they'll win 109, 106. I'll lean to the under. And I'll also lean to Phoenix.
Okay. Yeah, I want no part of the under with this Denver team.
I
Sorry.
don't blame you. I'm just looking at Phoenix and just choosing a side.
Well, yeah, and I get that. Of course, the problem with Phoenix is, their first 6 games went under, and they've been 4-3 to the over since then. So,
But 2-0 to the under in its last 2 games.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure that's quite the trend that you're looking for there. I mean, they give up 128 to Washington. They give up 117 to Indiana. That's troubling to me right there, giving up 245 points to those two teams. I'm not sure that screams defense like you want it to, buddy. I think I think this game could go either way as far as the spread goes. Catching one, okay.
Do you trust Denver on the road, even though it hasn't played a road game in over a week?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Is I'm going to take Phoenix just because they're the home team there. Denver doesn't necessarily travel well.
Well, Phoenix hasn't played a home game since January 6th.
Yeah, they've played 5 straight road games.
5 straight road games with a week off and COVID involved.
Yeah,
so I'm assuming you agree, even with no fans, Phoenix should be pretty jacked up for this game.
I'm sure they're happy to be home. I'm sure of that. As far as the total goes, yeah, I can't back the under there.
All right.
I will. I'll give a small lean to the over just to have a little confrontation, just to have a little drama between the two of us. I don't really love either side of the total, but I will take Phoenix getting back at home for the first time. There was an NBA stat that I used last year, and I wish I could find it. I'm not sure it's relevant without crowds, but it was the first game back after a long road trip generally goes badly for the home team, surprisingly. And I can't. I don't know if I can pull that stat out of my butt, but it was one of those ones where you went, really? I did not know that.
I wouldn't have expected that.
Yeah. It's definitely surprising. They're definitely less than 500 after coming off 4 games or more on a road trip. But having said that, I'm going to fade that trend because, like I said, I don't know that that's relevant. There's just nothing's relevant without people in the stands. It's all these staffs, these home away splits. I think you can throw all that shit out. Still have the travel involved, obviously, but this is
definitely not as strong as it has been in recent years, of course.
No, and then you're going to have the back-to-backs thrown in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're going to have all kinds of funky things to skew your stats. So yeah, I'll play Phoenix with you. I still like this Suns team, Scott. I do. I'm not sure I'm going to be left holding the bag at the end of the season, but
the Suns. I've been on the Suns since the start of the year. This team's pretty good.
Well, yeah,
it's not a superstar team or anything like that.
They let us down on that road trip, my friend. They did not have a good road trip for us. As they lose 3 of 5 outright on the road trip. They're favored in each one of those games. The only game they weren't favored in was against the Pacers, of course, and they win that one. So. Yeah, they're still a freaky team, but we'll see how that goes. I'm just not sure they're the defensive juggernaut that you think they are. We'll see.
And I think they are. So We'll see.
Good enough. All right. Anything else on the NBA card get your attention?
Truth is, and not really. I'm leaning to Indiana. Orlando ended up coming back from around 10 down against Minnesota in its last game to win that one by a buzzer beater. You need a buzzer beater to beat Minnesota.
Right.
Not exactly a solid performance by you over the last couple of days. Orlando, the issue you have with them is that they just can't score.
No.
You're going through some of these games here. You throw the Brooklyn game out because Brooklyn can't guard anybody. This is the amount of points Orlando's been scoring. 90, 98, 99, 97, 84, 97. But this team can't score.
Yeah, not good.
I'll
basically playing the same way they played last year without the defense.
Correct. So I'll take Indiana. Truth is, I thought I maybe making that my play today. Indiana's defense hasn't been great lately, and I'm aware of that, which is kind of what's giving me pause. But Indiana lost his last 2 games to the Clippers and to the Mavericks. Kind of got killed in both games. It seems like a get-right spot for Indiana against a pretty weak Eastern Conference opponent here. I think you'd agree with that.
What do you make of the immovable object against the irresistible force here? The Kings defense against the Knicks offense.
The Knicks offense on a back-to-back.
Knicks offense on a back-to-back, right?
Yeah, which is an interesting one there. Uh, I'm going to treat this like war games. Sometimes the best move is not to play.
The only
That's kind of how I'm going to view that. I'm going to channel my inner Matthew Broderick.
Look at you making a movie reference from fucking, what was that, 15 years before you were born? That movie came out?
83, yeah, 14 years.
Okay, way off.
Yeah, way off. Well, Price is Right. You might have lost.
That's true.
Yeah, so I'll skip that one. But if I had to lean anywhere, I'll lean over. It's more fun that way.
Yeah, the Knicks put up 119 last night against Golden State. Man,
Mm-hmm.
that was their. I'm gonna guess that's their high of the season. Oh, it was not. Yeah, they put up 130 against Milwaukee, second game of the year.
Good time.
You like the over there? 218.
I'll lean over, but I'm not playing it.
Okay.
That's one of those games you can probably tell 5 minutes in if you're going to win or lose.
Couldn't goad you into it, huh?
No, not at all.
Yeah, as Knicks defense is so bad.
I'm thinking about. You mean Sacramento?
Kings defense. Sorry.
Yeah. The one I'm kind of interested in this Clippers Oklahoma City game. I'm looking at maybe taking the Clippers, especially since Horford is still out of the lineup, and Horford is one of the only players on that entire team besides Dort who actually plays defense for Oklahoma City. So Clippers, they might have lost some pieces over the offseason. I know Lou Williams is a little bit banged up, but he didn't have much of a role in this team anyway this year. Clippers are actually really good, and I feel like people are disrespecting them. Are they good enough to beat the Lakers? No. But I think the Clippers are clearly the second best team in the Western Conference. I think you'd agree with that.
Well, yeah. I mean,
the Western Conference is pretty weak, to be honest.
Yeah, at the beginning of the season, I would have expected, maybe a little bit of a challenge from Denver or Dallas, one of those teams to take that next step. But so far, they don't appear that they're ready to do that. So,
yep.
Yeah, that's solid. All right. So, what's your? You got to play on that one. You're going to lean Clippers throwing the 13.
Yeah, I'll lean Clippers and I'll lean under in that.
13 and a half. That one's gone up a little bit. Okay. All right. Good. Oh, you're going to try to thread the needle, cover a double-digit spread and go under.
Thread the needle. I think if the Clippers are going to cover, I think Oklahoma City's going to score less than 100.
There you go.
Right. I think you'd agree with that.
That's
or at least it'll be close to.
That's an interesting correlated parlay there, my friend.
It's interesting, but if you looked at how Oklahoma City barely broke 100 against Denver, last game, I got to assume the Clippers will have something for them.
All right, we'll see. All right, very good. So, as always, if you're interested in picking up more information on these games or any other games, don't forget to stop by and check out winnersandwhiners.com, number one site in the world for predictive sports analysis. Not just basketball, but of course we got hockey, we got football. We got a little more football this weekend, don't we, Scott? I forgot about that.
Couple of big games.
And UFC. Now, did you do any UFC articles over there at UFC at Winners and Whiners?
I didn't do any articles, but I know we're about to do a video on it, so I already did my research.
We are. So everybody that loves UFC, stay tuned. It's always a treat when I get involved in UFC because I know almost nothing about it. So it's gonna be fun. So stay tuned for Scott and I doing our UFC, and the over under on mispronounced names is 4.5. Is that correct, Scott?
We've had to make some adjustments in the marketplace because you were doing some practice behind the scenes. One has been moved down to 3.5.
3.5. All right, there you go.
We got sharp intel that you were practicing names, which was against the rules. So you can get your money back at the sportsbook.
All right. So for myself, for Scott Reichel, for all of us over here at Winners and Whiners, appreciate you guys watching today. Wish you nothing but the best of the luck on this Friday heading into the weekend. Hope every one of those tickets in your pocket turns into cash money back of the window. You guys take care. Have a great day. We'll see you next time on Today in Sports Betting. Bye-bye.